Hello, Edwina. Murphy-Droomer is my name, and I want to warmly welcome you to this interview in this series where I am talking to phenomenal feminine entrepreneurs in order to gain their life-changing insights on taking control of your prosperity, your freedom, and your beautiful future. Today, we have with us Krista Mashore. Krista, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Edwina, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to be here. My coach that I was working with has talked about you and your work for so long, and I know that your story is so inspiring that I'm dying to hear more and to share it with this audience. So, Krista, can we start there? If you know your background and your journey to where you are now is absolutely amazing. So, would you take some time to share that with us, please?
Yeah, are you sure you want to hear the whole drama? Huh?
I do. I do. I do.
Okay. So I'll start off by saying that I haven't lived at home since I was 13 years old. There was some stuff going on in the household at home, and so I found myself running away from home at 13. And I ran away from home for about a year, living in people's cars, living in RVs, living in my friends' parents' closets while their parents were at work, or they were sleeping. And finally I ended up getting in trouble because the cops can't do anything. When you run away, they can't make you go back home. They'll take you home and you can just run away again, right? And so they didn't really have any control of me, and so I just kept running away. And one time I finally broke the law. Me and my friend Chrissy, we needed clothes, we needed money, so we broke into our eighth grade locker room while the girls were at PE, and we stole all their clothes and all their lunch money. So that put me in the system.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to juvenile hall for 3 months, and then from there I ended up going to a group home for girls. It was called Hidden Hills Group Home for Girls. There was nothing hidden about it. They dropped me off in the biggest green bus you can ever imagine, which was like basically this big, huge sign that says I'm a total screw up, right? Like that's what I got dropped off to school every day in high school. Oh. And then I stayed there for a year, and then I ended up going to a foster home for my remaining high school years. So I haven't been living at home since I was 13. Mm-hmm. And at one point I just decided, because I was a good kid, I just had some problems, and but overall I was really, really a good kid. And I decided, I met some great friends in high school, friends that I've been friends with still. We've been friends for 35 years. I'm going to be 50 this summer, and we've been at each other's weddings and had each other's, like I'm aunts to all their kids and vice versa. And so I just made a really, really good choice of friends. When I graduated from college, I got a loan and put myself through high school. So when I graduated from high school, I put myself through college. My foster parents, when I turned 19 or 18 and I was done with school, they said, okay, you got 2 weeks to get out. The money pretty much dried up, and so I had to figure it out. And so I ended up getting a full-time job and putting myself through college and 100% on my own without any help. I got a couple small scholarships. In fact, one of the scholarships I got was from juvenile hall. And I remember the man saying to me, Krista, when you make it big one day, I just want you to be sure to pay it forward. So I remember that very, very well. And I love, helping people and giving back and adding value. And so I ended up becoming a teacher. I taught 3rd grade for 6 years. I got a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And I was a teacher for a very long time until my daughter Kaylee got sick. She got really, really sick, in fact. And when she was born, she contracted spinal meningitis and had kidney failure and had multiple strokes and all this crazy stuff. Anyway, so she ended up being just fine, but I ended up leaving teaching because I was, told that she probably was going to have some really, really difficulty. They said she might die, or she could be deaf or blind, or all these things from all the trauma that she had. And luckily she ended up being perfect. She just has a little bit of ADHD, but so do I. So what does that matter, right? So so I left my full-time safe teaching job, and I was at the time very happily married. And within a very short time of me leaving my teaching job, I got a phone call from one of my best friends from college, and she informed me that my husband was having an affair. So I ended up like, we just bought a brand new house, 2 little girls, under the age of 5, brand new home. My husband at the time drained our bank accounts. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So I ended up changing careers and going into real estate and because I left teaching to stay at home, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just get into real estate. I'll sell a couple homes a year. I'll be just like I was making the same kind of money. And as I was as a teacher was my kind of goal. Well, I ended up having to like just completely go full force into real estate because my goal was to keep the girls in that home and to keep them safe and secure and sound. It was very important to me. So I ended up selling 69 homes my first year in real estate. And I've pretty much sold around 100 homes every year thereafter, except for one year the market crashed and I sold 12. And then I ended up, figuring it out and selling well over 100 again. So I've been in real estate for over 20 years. I've sold over 2,200 homes. I've been in the top 1% of realtors nationwide pretty much every year that I've been in the business, except for 1 year. And about 3.5 years ago, I actually started a coaching business where now I coach real estate agents how to utilize digital marketing and social media to dominate their area. And now we're launching out to teach local professionals like how to do the same. So we teach people how to stand out in their profession and just like get like just massive exposure and, hundreds of hours of watch time and hundreds of thousands of views. And we teach them how to kind of like dominate their profession. So that's what I do now. And that's kind of the story.
It is an amazing, unbelievable story, amazing story. I'm so fascinated what it is that supports some people in the situation that you were in. Some people thrive and just, run with that, the resilience and the decision that there's nothing's going to stop them. And some people fall in a hole. Have you got thoughts on what makes the difference?
Well, I don't know if you've ever read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And one of the things that he talks about in there are, there's 7 different traits there's 16 different traits that highly successful people have. And one of them is the belief system, right? They just have a strong belief system that they can do it. And, I gotta tell you, like when you go through what I've gone through, not living at home since you're 13, suffering from some physical abuse as a child, there's a lot of screwed up stuff in the head, right? So I have just really, really worked strongly on my mindset. And I mean, I love learning. I'm an avid learner. I'm an avid student. And I have just worked on my mindset like crazy. It's something that I have just done so well. Like I really am conscious of what I think about, what I say to myself, who I surround myself with. And it's to the point now where I've gotten to the point where I've been able to really overcome some crazy obstacles, right? And what used to be very difficult to kind of keep my mind right is now just comes sort of naturally to me. I really have a hard time even like figuring out what my limiting beliefs are, like what I struggle with, because I just have the belief that I can do anything that I put my mind to. And trust me, I've had a lot of things happen. I mean, gosh, just about a year and a half ago was to a point in my business where my coaching business where I was like, why am I doing this? Oh my gosh, it's so difficult. I had my director of human resources and my marketing manager literally just up and start a competing business with me basically while they were on my dime working for me. And the day before I found that out, they had advised me to fire my entire sales team. So I did. So within like 24 hours, I had no sales team, no human resource director, and no marketing manager. And it was like, oh my gosh. And so, for like 1 second, I was like, whoa, I kind of go through the stages of death, right? Like that you're angry or, then you're hurt, then you're like, and then I just was like, listen, that happened. Let's move forward. And I just was like looking for solutions, solution-based thinking, being resourceful. And looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened because my company at that time was not doing well. We had massively high expenses. We had a sales team that just quite frankly wasn't, I didn't lead them directly to begin with to be the sales team that I have now, if that makes sense. So I take full accountability on that. But we have just made such huge strides. I mean, we're doing over $1 million a month right now. We just did, 1.4 million last month in sales. And we, a year and a half ago, we were at like a 6-week burn rate where if I didn't change things, we were going to be out of business. And so I tell people that because, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is not easy. There's a lot of things that happen and you have to be able to be resourceful, look for solutions, try to find answers, learn to go under, over, through, around obstacles that happen, not be hyper focused on the things that aren't working and look for the things that are. And I think that's one of the things that I've been very, very good at, is that I keep a super positive mind frame. I like failure is, there's not an option to fail, right? And even though we fail a million times, we're failing forward and we're learning.
Yeah.
And I think being willing to make the mistakes and make the adjustments and keep going. And I realize that not everyone has the ability to do that. But like, with that being said, you got to understand, when I started my coaching business, I was making close to $2 million in my real estate company, right? And the first year that I left real estate full-time to be a coach, I sold 53 less homes than I sold the year before, because I was focusing on my coaching. So I lost over $1 million in real estate sales from focusing on coaching. And I was investing extra money into my coaching to make it happen. So it was very imbalanced. And it was, it was like, most people probably wouldn't have done that, because, I remember my parents saying to me, I'm very, very close to my parents now. And we have been for many, many years. What's the word? The relationship, we fixed it, if that makes sense. And I remember them telling me, out of pure love, they were like, Krista, normal people do not leave their multi-million-dollar business to go do something else. Like, no one is ever going to pay you to coach them. Like, we love you, but this is probably not a good idea. And I remember, and they said that because they wanted to help me. And many times people that think they're helping us are not, right? And they said that out of love. But had I listened to them, like, now I make more money in 10 days, like, than I make in a year or in selling real estate, right? So and I'm able to help positively affect and impact an enormous amount of people's lives, because in my coaching program, a lot of what I just told you, what I practice and what I implement, I teach, right? So it's so much mindset. We have people that are like, Krista, I mean, just this past week we had a call, and like 10 people were talking about how, they were having panic attacks, and they couldn't even, they're not having panic attacks now, and they were depressed and couldn't get out of bed, and they didn't have any confidence or no self-value, and how they're losing weight. Like, all of these mental mind shifts are happening because the coaching is very well, so much not just about business, but it's about mental capacity first. You can have the business that you like. And I think that many people miss that. They're trying so hard to make the money, but they're not working on themselves and being the best version of themselves, and working on their mindset, that they can't ever get to the level that they want, because they're not understanding how important that aspect is.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I know it's, was the thing that made all the difference for me. I did all the academic learning, and I'm, like a naturopath in training, and, like all those things I had. But the mindset to actually go out and create something with it was the bit that was missing. I think, going back to your story and what makes the difference, I feel like, being uncomfortable is really the bit that makes the difference. Being, I think Tony Robbins talks about hunger, you've got to have that hunger. I remember a coach of mine saying that she told one of her clients, or advised one of her clients, to sell their house and buy a house that she almost couldn't afford, to make her so uncomfortable, because she needed to get to that next level. When I first heard that, I was horrified. It was like, oh my gosh, how could you put somebody at so much risk? And, but I think for so much of us, certainly in Australia, and, we're so comfortable, and it's really difficult to deliberately make yourself uncomfortable. But for me, the big shift came when I went from zero income, zero business, to investing in a $12,000 investment on a credit card, and I needed to clean houses to pay for that. Was the thing that made the difference, putting myself in a no choice position, I think.
Oh, it's so funny you say that, because when I was doing my coaching business, I was building a home at the same time, right? And I remember like taking money from my real estate business, putting it in my coaching business, trying to build this house. And I did not want to get a loan for the house. And it was, it's almost $1.5 million. And I would not get a loan. My parents were, I'm like, if I get a loan, it's like me saying that I'm not believing that this coaching program is going to work, and that, and my parents were like, Krista, get a loan. My husband's like, baby, we should get a loan. You're all stressed out. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting a loan. And I built this house that we live in right now from cash, right? And, it's on deep water. And we had another house that was just a mile away that we actually just sold. But we had both houses, and I was adamant about building this house. It was supposed to be our secondary home. and not having to get a loan. And so I was very uncomfortable. And there was times where I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? But it made me just keep pushing.
Yeah.
So I love that you say that, because, I forgot about that actually until you just
Yeah.
brought that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I grew up with the mindset. My dad was in property development and did very well, but he drilled into us, if you can't afford it, you can't have it. So don't borrow money, don't go into debt, don't, like even put things on lay-by when you go to buy clothes. That was the mindset
I don't
that I grew
agree
up
with
with.
that. I don't agree with that for one thing. And this is
Yeah.
but I don't agree with that when it's about investing in yourself, because when you buy so buying things like cars, houses, clothes, vacations, those are liabilities. But I do believe in taking money out of your house or putting on a credit card. If you are buying an investment being an investment of yourself for learning, for coaching, for resources. And I cannot tell you how much I mean that, because I mean, look at me. I mean, I had to go put my college on, student loans and working and credit cards and all these things. And I remember, 4 years ago giving my last, I had $35,000 in the bank, literally and I gave 25,000 of it to this one coach for a day, to go with him for a day. And I'm not sure I would do that again, because I think it's really difficult to do anything for a day, but without having further coaching. But I mean, when you invest in like for example, I have no problem taking somebody's last $25,000 to coach them, or having them put it on a credit card, because I know that if they do the things that I'm going to teach them, because I'm saving them years and years of times. It's like they're buying a business in a box, and I know that they're not going to make all the mistakes and trials. I have made millions of dollars in mistakes, absolutely millions of dollars in mistakes, right? And when you learn what not to do and what to do from someone that's actually done what you're trying to do, it is the smartest investment you'll ever make.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only time I don't agree about that, because I'm saying I don't have any debt, but I would go into debt to learn from the right person.
Yeah, I absolutely. And, I turned that first 12,000 into 135,000, and I didn't know I was going to, but I had faith in the coach that I was working with. And if somebody would say to you, if you give me 12,000, I'll give you back 100,000. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I'd do that every day.
Yeah. I've given Russell Brunson, $60,000. Honestly, in the past, I was just adding it up. So I did this post in Inner Circle, because we just got our 2 CCX award. And I was like, hey guys, we just hit, 10 million. That was about, 6-8 months ago. And I'm like, I just want to let you know how much I've invested just in this group. And I started listing all the people I'd invested from, and it was like $470,000 in a 2.5 year time frame, 3-year time frame. And so, and it's like, would I do it again? Heck yeah, I think we're at 16, 17 million now. So it's like, I would absolutely invest 4 or 5 to make, and I would not have been able to do that had I not made those investments. So, and some of them were not the best investments, I'll admit, and some of them were great, but you learn a little bit from each one. And as long as you hire the right people, I don't know. I'm not trying to sell coaching right now, but I just, when you said that, I had to say that, because, money likes speed. And if you can pay money and write a check for speed, and write a check for convenience, and write a check to learn what to do and what not to do, there is something to be said about that. And I feel like people will spend money to go to college, and, just to go to Harvard, right? Harvard is over $60,000 a year. The average person from all the prestigious colleges, Cornell, Harvard, Stanford, it ranges from 58 to 68-ish $1,000 a year, right? Yeah. When you graduate from that, the average person makes $60,000. Yep. $60,000 is the average salary. And after 12 years of being in that profession, the average person that graduates from those prestigious colleges makes an average of $84,000 a year. Crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. You say you're not trying to sell coaching. I'm going to say that I am. I mean, I've pulled together 20 something different women in this community, trying to give people different ideas about different coaches that they might reach out to, because I speak to so many entrepreneurs that are trying to do it by themselves, and they're going to, make the money first. When they've made the money, they'll invest in the coaching. I know from my own experience, it's back to front. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think that, the message is find yourself a coach, find yourself a community, whatever that is right for you, because it is the thing that makes the difference. There's going to be a lot of the women tuning into this that have got no idea what you're talking about when you talk about the 2 Comma Clubs Awards and Russell Brunson and stuff. So maybe you should just go back to that for a second.
Yeah.
And,
well, so first of all, okay, so Russell Brunson is one of my coaches, and he is the CEO and founder of ClickFunnels. And what a 2 Comma Club Award is it's doing an $1 million online marketing from one funnel. And I have 7, or let me see, I have 6 or 7, 6, I think, 2 Comma Club Awards. And we just got our 10X award, which means you've done over $10 million in sales online. And we're we're very close to getting our second $10 million award. And those have both, we have gotten both of those this year. And we're in June right now. So basically, and Russell says, people are always asking, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? Well, the bottom line is you can go on Google and how anything. It's not the how, it's the who. Who can help me get there? Who has done this? It's the who you should be asking. And I just thought, it's so true, because how? Google, right? Read a book. I mean, it's like, read my book. It tells you everything, but you really need the people. There's a study called the Change or Die study. And this kind of goes back to, how do I think I've done it? And there's a study called Change or Die. And it basically, there was doctors that told people that if you don't change your behavior, you're going to die, meaning they had health ailments, or they were going, they drank too much, or they didn't exercise enough, or too much sugar, or whatever it might be. With death on the line, after a year, 9 out of 10 people with death on the line could not make the change. However, there was another group of people that had coaching, accountability, and support. Out of that group, 77% of them were able to make the change, right? So you are 7 times more likely to be able to make change when you have coaching, accountability, and support. And the support part of it from like-minded community, from people that are doing the same thing that you're doing, that are giving you answers, pushing you when you're down, encouraging you, inspiring you. There's so much to be said about that. The coaching and the accountability, it's like, I always say you need your GPS, right? Like, people that are watching this right now, you will most likely are goal driven and you're goal oriented, right? But you know what to do. But why is it that when you, like, if you want to lose weight, you need to cut out carbs, drink less alcohol, exercise more, right? Eat healthier foods. But why do you get a coach? Because it's hard. It's hard, right? But when you have your GPS, you've got your goals, and and you've got your guidance, you've got your P, I call your plan and your blueprint, and you've got your S, your support, your strategy, and your systems. You're so much more likely to be able to get it. It's the Change or Die study. So I just want to put that out there, because I think people underestimate the power of having a like-minded community and support system, and having a step-by-step blueprint of exactly what to do and how to do it. And even with that, it's hard, and it takes time and consistency and energy and effort, even with the step-by-step blueprint, right? And even with the people and the support. So the only mistake that most people make is thinking that they can do it on their own, and thinking they can have some great massive change. It's just, it doesn't happen like that. It's pretty much almost impossible, I think.
No, I think it's human nature. We want to go back to what's comfortable, even when what's comfortable is bloody uncomfortable. I mean, you can use the weight loss piece, you can use anything, but it's human nature. We want to keep going back to what is normal, what is comfortable, and having a coach or a community that kind of pulls you out of that and says, yes, you can, get through the really hard bits. It's a non-negotiable.
Well, let me say something too, Edwina. So you can either be uncomfortable and hard now, so it doesn't have to be uncomfortable and hard later, or you can make it easy now so that it's going to be hard later. Because if most people continue to do what they're doing, it's going to be hard all the time. It's going to be hard later, right? Like, if you're not a multimillionaire, if you don't have, enough money in the bank, do you know that you need, oh my gosh, you need $900,000 in the bank cash, okay, to be able to take, this is according to the Trinity study, to be able to take a 4% draw rate to take out $3,000 a month, which is what they say you need to live, which I need a lot more than that, but to make that money last for you through retirement, right? Most people don't have that. So if you don't have that, like if you don't have the, this great retirement plan or all these things, and maybe some people do, But I mean, like for me, $3,000 a month, that's not enough. I want to be able to travel and do my things and be a philanthropist and help people and be able to, buy my kids a house and just do whatever, right? And so that is available for anybody. I mean, if a girl from a foster home and a group home and juvie can produce this type of life, anybody can if they just put their life to it. And sometimes people will say, well, Krista, it's just because of you, like you have this energy and you're happy and you're whatever, you're cute. I heard that all the time. That's because you're pretty. I'm like, okay, you just keep thinking that. Well, I just keep kicking your ass in business, right?
I love that. So, I mean, you said you're about to turn 50. I'll be 50 next April. And I know that a lot of my audience have been at-home mums or have been, doing some sort of corporate job. They've got to this point, the kids are kind of older, maybe just leaving home like you and I, similar place, but maybe in the entrepreneurial world are starting from scratch. Is entrepreneurship for everybody? What are your thoughts?
I don't think it is. No, I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think it is. But let me tell you something for your students that are watching this that are older, and my numbers are off. So one of my students just told me, because somebody said, and one of my calls, they're like, oh my gosh, Krista, like I'm just doing so well, and I was so afraid that I was too old, and it was like, and I'm doing it, it's working. And one of my students said, hey, I just read something that says that that I think you're 73 or 76% more likely to start a new career, right? At the age of, I think it was 46 or 53, something like that. Yeah. So like if you start a new career between the ages of like 46 or 53, something like that, you're 73% more likely to actually make it work because you are older. And so many like people have their best careers ever and start new businesses at this age, right? At 50. So it's like we're not dead yet. We have plenty of time left, and we're smarter and we're more, there's so many more things that so it's actually a good thing to do that. So no, I do not think that entrepreneurship is for everyone. It is a little bit risky. You have to be able to be dedicated, right? So just like you have to check in and clock in, every day from 9 to 5 if you want to work at Costco or whatever you're doing for your job, you have to be willing to check in every day and be committed to doing something, right? And you have to be willing to lose a little bit before you can make, right? I always tell people, just like a seed, it has to go into the ground before it sprouts up, right? Just like a caterpillar, it turns into it has to go into a cocoon and dark and cold and lonely before it can turn into a butterfly. Many times things have to go down before they can go up, just like your bank account has to go down sometimes in entrepreneurship before it can go up. And just like you might spend more time, like it's time now so that you can have more time later. It's all these things that you need to be willing to do. But if you surround yourself with the right people, you have the right tools and systems and processes, and if you're willing to give it the time it takes to make it work and be willing to adjust and adapt and modify and not give up, you will succeed. It's just a matter of just not stopping. And just like, Think and Grow Rich, and you're 3 feet from gold. So many people stop at 3 feet from gold because they don't have the support and the systems and the people and the coaching to help them keep going, right? Yeah. And so it's like don't do that. Don't be 3 feet from gold. Like just keep on going and it will happen. And yes, failure is a rite of passage. You're going to fail. And I honestly did not, Edwina, really understand what this meant until about 2 years ago. I know that sounds weird, but I was like, why do they mean fail for? Like, I don't believe that. Like, what does that mean? And somebody's like, Krista, like every time you fail, you really are failing forward because you're learning and you're changing, and you're adapting and you're learning what didn't work so you can figure out what does. And I was like, gosh, okay, that makes sense. It is good to fail forward, right? So it really is true.
I think it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it. If you just keep making the same dumbass decisions.
Yes, very true, very true. Then that's not smart. Yes, you're very true.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by, one of the first questions I ask in our book is, what's your why? And I'm fascinated, like you've obviously surpassed the multiple millions stage now. You've got the money to retire. What is your why? What keeps driving you to do more?
I love the challenge, number one. Like I'm building multiple businesses right now, actually. And I love the challenge. I like the fast pace. And I honestly love people. Like I just love helping people. I love seeing people grow. Tony Robbins talks about contribution, right? Contribution equals growth. And when you can get to a point in your life where you're truly contributing to others, that's when you really see the most amount of fulfillment in your life. And I could cry right now thinking about, like, I cannot tell you how much I believe that. Like, I've never been happier in my life. Like, I have an amazing husband. We're actually having our 12-year wedding anniversary this weekend. We are happy. We just, and we just, like, things can't get better. And I know that sounds crazy, but I just, like, I love where we're at. And I know it has a lot to do with, like, every day I have somebody reaching out to me and telling me, like, I've changed their life. And that, like, I just, like, oh my gosh, I live for that. I love that. And, everyone deserves it. Like, there's enough wealth and abundance and happiness for all of us. And so many people, especially in real estate, but they're very, like, oh my gosh, I don't want to share or tell you what I'm doing and all these things. And I think that, when you're around the right people, like, anything is possible. I would never be where I'm at had I not hired Russell and been around the people that and I remember, like, 3.5 years ago sitting, 4 years ago, sitting in that room and being so intimidated by all these people that were multimillionaires and that were making millions of dollars online. I didn't even know what a funnel was back then. And I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, I don't belong here, but yes, I do. Just keep going. And now those people, like, I've way surpassed them. Now they're looking to me for help. And it's just because, I've been an avid student. Like, everyone always says that I'm really good at implementing, and I'm a very good student. So you tell me what to do and I'll do it. And you tell me to jump 3 feet and I'll jump 8. Like,
yeah. I think being that community is key. And it was, my first year I flew to the States that I started working with this coach that I mentioned before. And I was sitting in the audience and I felt, like the primary school girl that's looking up at the high school girls, they'd, done these amazing things. There was a panel of 6 women on the stage. It's like, gosh, imagine if, imagine getting to the point where you got that recognition and that success. And I flew home to Australia and I stuck it on my vision board. I was like, I'm going to be on that stage next year. And I did it. And, I honestly, I share that story because when I stuck it up there, I didn't really believe that I could. It was kind of like a cute thing to do and to say, like, this is what I'm aiming for. But when I got that invitation to be on that stage, it was like, holy, this works.
Yeah.
This
so
works.
I copied a funnel. I saw one online. I copied and I put my name on there, Krista Mashore. I put it on there, and then I was like, okay, now I want to get the 10X one. And, now my goal is I'm actually speaking at Funnel Hacking Live at Russell's event. And my goal is to have 2 of them by then. Right. So I'm like, I am pushing to hit that, next 10 million mark for online funnels. So I can get 2 awards. And I mean, it's like, I don't know. Much as I believe in myself, it seems like pretty dang unbelievable. Right. But then I'm like, well, why is it unbelievable? And and it's like, people will think that money isn't everything. And in fact, I'm reading a book right now called Neuroscience, and it actually talks about how people, if you ask 100 people, do you want, money or happiness, if you had to choose one, and everybody will choose, like 90+% of people will say they want happiness. But truth and science shows that actually money actually gives you more happiness, because when you have limitless amounts of money, you can do anything with it to help serve other people and be a philanthropist to other people. And, like, you can literally change the world when you have more money. And research shows that people that have more money are, like, truly more happy, right? Like, they are that in every realm, right? And the more money you make, the happier you are statistically when they take these, these questionnaires and all that. And so, money is a good thing, and like having a good relationship with it and believing that you deserve it and working towards it. And it's like a good thing, because you can change the world if you have more money. Right? You can do things that not, like, for example, this past week, I just gave one kid a $5,000 scholarship. Gave another kid a $5,000 scholarship. I've done this thing called Teens Lifting Lives, where I give kids anywhere from $750 to $1,000, and I'll coach like 60 of them at one time for free, and they'll read books with me. And then I give them money to do this with me, right? But then they have to take a portion of that and they have to give it to somebody in the community. They have to give it to a local charity. And so it's like, those are the kind of things that you can do when you have money. So I don't know how I got in that subject, but anyway.
Well, I mean, another thing that I wanted to touch on, with you is about feminine leadership, and you really just answered it. But, I think feminine leadership starts in the home as mums, and what we're role modeling for those that are mums or in the community. I think when we hear the term leadership, we think about presidents or prime ministers or, you know, like these roles. But really, I think as women, by these actions that we're taking, that you're being so generous with people in scholarships and so on, all these things are amazing feminine leadership role model qualities. So, I mean, you basically answered it, but is there anything that you want to add to that in the role that you see as feminine leaders at the moment?
You know, leadership to me is huge. Like, in fact, my word for 2020 and 2021 was leadership and refinement. Yep. And the reason being was because about a year and a half ago, when I lost those, you know, my director of human resources and my marketing manager, I realized that I wasn't leading my team as well as I was leading my coaching students. Right? My coaching students loved me, but my team was like, they just weren't as happy. I think I was pushing them too much, expecting too much out of them. So I decided, like, my goal is to make every single one of my team members, I don't call them employees, to love working for me. And so I changed the way that I was dealing with people, how I was leading, what I was expecting of them. And I'm telling you, my company like has completely changed. Like, just for me focusing on being the best leader, treating people the best that I can, appreciating them the best that I can, recognizing them, you know, allowing them to have balance. I mean, my company's transformed. Like, losing those two people was the best thing that ever happened to my company, quite frankly. And it's what gave us the most growth. And it was something that needed to happen so that I could reflect more on myself and how I was leading to make the changes that I did. So, you know, being a good leader is something that can absolutely be learned. Just like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, the 16 habits of highly successful people. What all of those habits can be learned. He found that people were not born with them, right? They were not born. Like, one of the traits is they have a mastermind team or coaching, right? They surround themselves with a mastermind team. And that's something you're not born with. You learn to do that, right? Having a strong belief system in yourself, being very decisive in nature, right? These are all qualities that can be learned, and these are the qualities that highly successful people have.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, not only being part of it, but creating masterminds. You know, I've got a mastermind myself. I know that you do, and it's like creating these intentional spaces to support people to grow that are safe, and you know, it's life-changing. It's such rewarding work when we talk about, you know, leaving a legacy or you know, your why for why you continue doing what you're doing. When you are able to be in service to the degree that you're being, it's addictive. It is addictive to just, you know, you just feed off that energy of people growing and succeeding. It's magic.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. And, you know, true. Another thing too in business. So I know a lot of your people are newer, but when you're first starting, so it's like, I remember when I first started, it was like, I remember one of my salespeople calling me, like, she's bawling, like, this isn't working and I can't sell. And oh my God, it's just the hardest thing and no one will buy from me. And I was like, hey, get it together. Like, focus on the positive stuff. You got this, make these changes, get back on the phone. Yeah. That same salesperson did over $270,000 herself in sales in a month, right? That couldn't sell. And it takes time in the beginning. So we went from, and these numbers are not exact, right? But they're close. So like, we went like the first 11 months, nothing. Then all of a sudden we hit our first 2 combo couple, or hit our first million, like in 11 months. And then like by 13, we hit another million. And so we did like, man, we did like, 7 million in, oh gosh, I don't remember the numbers now because it's increased so much, but it was like, we went from nothing for the first almost year to all of a sudden, like, once the momentum hit, it was like, boom, 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 right? Like million, because of the momentum. So when you first start out, things take time. It's harder. You know, you're running into roadblocks. You're doing more on your own. Like, before it was just me. And then I hired one person. It was me and this one person. And then I, you know, slowly started hiring more people. So we were able to get more done. I have to sneeze. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. So thank you. So, you know, so it's like, you'll evolve and appreciate where you're at, appreciate the overwhelm, because it means that you're growing. I tell my students that all the time. Appreciate like where you are, appreciate the journey, appreciate the process. Remember, one of my mentors said, Krista, you're always going for more. Appreciate where you're at. Like, stop and appreciate where you're at. And I remember that now all the time. Like, I'm going to remember where I'm at, appreciate where I'm at. Like, if I look back to where I've grown, it's amazing, you know, like what we've achieved, and then quite frankly, how quickly, you know, we've achieved it. And so just, you know, just believe that you'll get there. Keep on pushing. Know that anything is possible for anyone. You deserve it. You absolutely deserve it, but your things are not going to change unless you do. Like, you have to be willing to change in order for things to change. You have to be willing for things to get a little bit hard, for things to get to be a little easier later on, right? That's just life, you know. So
yeah. Your heart is so amazingly big, and there's just so many beautiful ideas and concepts within this conversation. I'm so grateful to you. I know that you have a little gift for our audience to access. Could you tell them what that is?
Yeah, so I've got a 2-day event that I have. It's 2 days of coaching with me. It's that one is actually, no, it's a 5-day coaching event that I have. So it's 5 days of coaching. It's an hour. Some of it might sound like it's a little bit towards real estate agents, but it's not. We're gearing this towards local professionals. You can just use it for anything. If you just go to KristaMashore.com/client conversion. It's KristaMashore.com/client conversion. And there is a 5-day free workshop that you can go to, and we'd love to have you there.
I'll pop the links under this interview, so they just have to tap the button, make it easy. So as a final question, I would love to hear, what does living a rich and prosperous life look like to Krista Mashore?
You know, it's just focusing on the good things, I guess. Like, you know, there's so much to be grateful for and be thankful for. And, you know, I've learned the more you focus on the things that are working and the things that you like and the things that are good, the more of those things come, right? Energy goes where focus flows. We get what we pay attention to. Thoughts become things, right? Our thoughts turn into our actions, turn into our life. And I just, like, living a prosperous life for me is just waking up every day and being thankful and being grateful and being happy and continuing to work towards helping other people. That's me. You know, my family is super important to me. My marriage is like the number one most important thing to me. You know, when you have those things, kind of everything sort of falls into place.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This has been an amazing conversation. Thanks, Krista.
Thanks for having me, Edwina. I appreciate it, everyone. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.
Bye.